Most people don't struggle because they don't know what to do. They struggle because knowing and doing are driven by different parts of the mind. If you're honest with yourself, you probably already know what would improve your life. You know the habits you should build, the conversations you should have, or the changes you should make. You may have read the books, watched the videos, or made the plans more than once. And yet, even with clarity, action often doesn't follow. This gap between knowing and doing can feel deeply frustrating. It can make you question your discipline, your motivation, or even your character. You may find yourself thinking that you should be better by now, or that something must be wrong with you if you keep understanding what to do but still struggle to follow through. What's important to understand is that this is not a motivation problem, and it's not a discipline problem either. It's a mismatch between conscious intention and the internal emotional system that actually drives behavior. Knowing operates in the conscious mind. Doing, however, is largely guided by subconscious patterns, emotional conditioning, and the nervous system. These systems are not focused on your long-term goals or logical plans. They are focused on familiarity, safety, and efficiency. Their role is to conserve energy and avoid perceived threat. So when an action feels emotionally uncomfortable, unfamiliar, or threatening to your sense of self, resistance appears automatically. This can happen even when the action makes perfect logical sense. You may fully understand why something matters and still feel unable to move. This is why insight alone rarely leads to change. So rather than adding more effort, it helps to approach this in a structured way that addresses what's happening internally. The following 5 steps are designed to help you understand and reduce the inner resistance that blocks action. Step 1. Notice the emotional state behind inaction. The first step is not to push harder, but to notice what's happening internally when you think about taking action. Pause for a moment and observe your emotional response. When you think about doing the thing you've been avoiding, what do you actually feel? Is there tension in your body, pressure in your chest, doubt in your thoughts, or a sense of heaviness or resistance? Often, avoidance is not caused by laziness. It's caused by subtle emotional discomfort. The body senses this discomfort before the mind explains it, and pulling away becomes a protective response rather than a conscious choice. For example, you may know you should start exercising, but when you imagine doing it, your body tightens slightly, your energy drops, or your mind suddenly fills with reasons to delay. Or you may know you need to have an important conversation, yet every time you think about it, you feel a quiet sense of dread or unease. Instead of judging that resistance, treat it as information. Ask yourself what you're actually feeling when you imagine doing the task. Awareness creates space, and space reduces friction. The moment you stop fighting the resistance, you begin to understand it. Step 2. Identify the hidden belief or assumption. Once you notice the emotional response, the next step is to identify the belief or assumption quietly attached to it. Resistance is often supported by thoughts you may not consciously question, such as the belief that this will be hard, that you won't follow through anyway, or that failing would say something negative about you. Sometimes the belief is more subtle, like the assumption that you need to feel motivated before you act, or that things should feel easier by now. These beliefs are rarely deliberate. They operate automatically in the background and shape how safe or unsafe an action feels. A helpful question here is to ask what this action would mean about you if you did it or if you didn't. Very often, inaction is tied to identity protection rather than lack of effort. If acting threatens how you see yourself, or how you fear others might see you, resistance becomes stronger. When you bring these assumptions into awareness, they begin to loosen. You're no longer fighting yourself. You're understanding yourself. Step 3. Release outcome pressure. Another common reason people get stuck is outcome pressure. When all attention is placed on results, performance, or expectations, the inner system tightens. You may start thinking about whether this effort will pay off, whether you'll do it well enough, or whether it will finally work this time. Pressure creates resistance, and resistance drains energy. This makes even simple actions feel heavy. You might notice this when starting a project. The more important it feels, the harder it becomes to begin. Not because you don't care, but because the emotional weight of the outcome overwhelms the system. Instead of focusing on outcomes first, shift attention to the inner state you want to experience while taking action. You might aim for calm, steadiness, clarity, or self-trust. When the emotional environment changes, action becomes more accessible. You're no longer trying to force movement against internal tension. This shift doesn't remove responsibility, it removes unnecessary friction. Step 4. Reduce the action until it feels emotionally safe. At this point, it becomes important to reduce the size of the action itself. Big goals often trigger overwhelm because the nervous system perceives them as demanding or unsafe. Even when the goal is positive, the system responds to perceived effort and uncertainty. Smaller actions, however, feel manageable. They lower resistance and build trust with yourself. Choose the smallest version of the action that feels emotionally safe to begin. Not impressive, not perfect, just doable. This might mean doing 1 hour instead of 4, writing 1 page instead of 5, or preparing rather than executing. When you do this consistently, something important happens. Repetition of small actions sends a signal of consistency to the mind. Over time, this consistency reshapes identity. Step 5. Let identity shift through evidence, not force. This is how real change happens. Not through willpower, but through repeated evidence. Each time you follow through in a small way, you reinforce the idea that you are someone who shows up. You're not trying to convince yourself with affirmations alone. You're allowing identity to shift naturally through experience. Over time, action feels less charged, resistance softens. What once felt difficult becomes familiar. This is not because you forced yourself, but because your inner system learned that the action is safe. So, if you know what to do but still don't do it, the solution is not to judge yourself or push harder. The solution is to work with your inner system rather than against it. When inner resistance is understood and addressed, action becomes a natural extension rather than a battle. As you reflect on this, consider asking yourself one simple question. What inner state do I need to support before asking myself to do more? If you found this helpful, let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more grounded mindset coaching. Thank you for being here.